Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, with this high of an ABV, might be a one and done kind of night. '11th Anniversary Stout is a 17.76% barrel-aged Imperial Stout from Oddside Ales in Grand Haven, Michigan. I was recently sipping on some Deleterious. You may have seen it, and if you haven't, you probably should. And a couple viewers, namely Robert Butler and Brett Hebel, mentioned that the 11th Anniversary Stout from Oddside was really the one to try, even out of those three. So alas, here we are. Let's take a look at the label. We'll get it into a glass, but first I'd like to thank my executive producers Ryan Barry, Eric Latowski, Brian Kramer, Zach, and Cam Freeman for helping to bring this review to you today. If you'd like to become a producer, help out the channel, or maybe just buy me a beer, take a look at my Patreon at patreon.com/draft_therapy, where you can get early access to these videos, exclusive patron-only live streams, and a few other special perks available only to patrons. So, let's take a look at the label. This is a really cool looking label. I love how understated it is. I love how minimal it is. I love how much it just conveys this whole air of just badassness to me. I think it's just like they're just dropping the mic on this one. So across the top, in black, in matte, it says Oddside. Underneath that, on the wrap, it says Oddside in silver with the 3 hop cones. It has the Roman numeral 11, which is an X and a 1. And then underneath that, it says Anniversary Imperial Stout aged in bourbon barrels with coconut. If we turn it onto the back, it says Oddside, again with the 3 hop cones. To celebrate our 11th anniversary, we created this limited edition Imperial Stout. It was aged in bourbon barrels for 14 months with coconut. And then the big mic drop is the 17.76% alcohol by volume. Cheers to 11 years. And then it has brewed and canned by Oddside Ales in Grand Haven, Michigan, 49417, oddsideales.com, their social media, and their deposit and government warning information. And then this was canned on February 2nd, 2021. This has been out on the market for a little bit. I'm just getting around to it. I picked it up last week, and I figured, like I said, with that viewer feedback, I just thought I needed to try this. 17.76% alcohol by volume, very specific. Oddside a few times, I think it's been Oddside who has really gone above and beyond to tell you like the 100th% of alcohol by volume in their beer. So I do appreciate it. Unlike some other breweries that don't put that percentage on, I won't name any names. All right, so let's go ahead and crack this. We'll put a nose on the can. Woo! A poppin' surprise there. Let's put a nose on it. Whoa. That is boozy. That is like a big boozy punch in the face. Big bourbon, boozy bourbon characteristic coming out of the can. I mean, that's really all I'm picking up on is that big hardcore booziness. Let's go ahead and pour this. Coming out super dark. There's a little bit of a transparency in the stream, but not much. And pouring it here. The head is, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say it's about, I'm going to say it's hard to say, I'm going to say it's a half a finger. I know nobody really probably, oh, you only got a half a finger, it should be a finger. I know that most people aren't going to nitpick about that, but it was like on the edge, it was like a finger, and then in the center, it was maybe half a finger. And as you can see from the overhead, it is almost, from the front, it looks like there's still a head on it. From the top, there is next to no head on there. And that's probably all that booziness. So let's put a better nose on the glass here. Wow. That will wake you up or put you to sleep. I don't know which one, but it is big, still big bourbon barrel characteristic. There's not really much else in the aroma department that's going on. It smells like bourbon and black licorice. That's what I smell. So I'm getting a slight black licorice kind of smell, but I'm also getting big time bourbon, big time molasses. All right. So looking at it, holding it up to the light, it is dark as all get out. Across the top, there is a bit of a thinness to it, and I'm thinking it's the light coming through, hitting the head and coming through. On the bottom, it is definitely like a murky, I mean, the whole thing looks like a murky black, but on the bottom, it's like more of a murky, thick, brown looking color. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Cheers. Whoa. So this is 17.76%, okay? The mouthfeel is actually a little bit on the heavier side. It's a little bit heavier than medium. It's not quite heavy. It's not quite syrupy. It has a decent amount of body for being 17.76%. A lot of stouts lately being those high ABV stouts, again, I'm talking like Dragon's Milk specifically, they are so light in the body department that this is a refreshing change of pace because it is, while it's not super thick, it's not super syrupy, it's 17%, almost 18%. I would expect it to have a nice medium body at the very least, and that's what it has. So it definitely has that. Try another drink here. Again, getting a big, another, again, wow, 17.76%. Let's think about that. So on the tail end, there's not much of a burn. There's no boozy burn in my throat as I swallow it, but I do pick up on a booziness on the finish. What I'm getting is a lot of a bourbony sweetness. I'm getting like a molasses flavor in there as well. I'm getting a really strong kind of punch of dark fruit. And when I say dark fruit, I mean almost raisin-like. You know, dark fruits in that raisin kind of family. The coconut, I feel like on the aftertaste, after that boozy bite kind of subsides, that's where I'm getting a bit of a coconut, but it's also mixing in with that molasses. The molasses is like big time there through and through. The bourbon actually isn't as strong as I thought it would be. And then on the, right now, even talking about it, I'm getting like a bitter, chocolatey, like a really dark, powdery cocoa kind of flavor in there as well. The booziness really lends itself well to this beer. 14 months aged in bourbon barrels. Big bourbon taste, big alcohol kind of, you know, aftertaste to it, but then it subtly changes and you get a little bit of the coconut, you get a little bit, again, of that molasses. Well, you get a lot of that molasses, a lot of that bourbon still on the finish. The coconut just kind of barely comes through. That chocolatey kind of finish is what's really there. The really dark, bitter baker's chocolate, you know, like unsweetened kind of chocolate flavor, like a 90% cocoa or higher concentrate in a dark chocolate. If you've ever, you know, gone down that path, gone down that evil path, that dark path, I don't want to say evil, but dark path of bitter chocolate, like where it's 95%, you know, cacao and it's not really a lot of other additives, it gets really bitter and really dark. And that's what the chocolatey flavor in this one reminds me of. I mean, this is just leaving so much legs around the outside of this glass that you can just see when I tip it like that, I can see just where it ended and it's just clinging on the glass like that. This is definitely a sipper, not something, and as you can tell by these drinks that I've been taking really small kind of sips. It's not something I would want to take a big, just kind of chug or a mouthful of and just let it hang out and then, you know, swallow it down. It's not offensive in that way. It's not something that would, you know, it's not something that I couldn't handle, but it's not, you know, it's so just, I don't want to say delicate, but it's something that you'd want to take a little bit slower to enjoy it. Now, as I'm talking about it and I have had a couple drinks of it, I'm feeling like this, you know, nice kind of heat wash over me, but it's not, there's no boozy burn to it. There's nothing that's, again, it's not overly offensive. Again, close to 18%. It's not super boozy. It's not as boozy as you would expect. It's not offensively boozy. Everything complements each other and it works together in harmony so well. I have to say I agree with Brett and I agree with Robert that if I had to pick between Deleterious and I had to pick, you know, this, you know, one or the other, because those are all 14%. That's not like it's nothing, right? It's not like it's a 5% brown ale. So if I had to pick between the two, I would pick this one because I feel like it's just got more character. It's a little bit more complex. It's a little bit more deep. It's got a little bit more depth. It's a little bit just in all ways. It's a little bit more, and not to discredit Deleterious, you know, on its own or the variants, but this one stands up so well on its own. It definitely owns that near 18% ABV. it definitely has a lot more of a it's more of a complex, just, it has multiple tricks up its sleeve, and you taste different things as it warms, and each time you kind of drink it, you pick up on these other little elements. I do think that it's more of a, you do get more of that molasses, you do get more of that dark fruit, you do get more of that bourbon barrel aged characteristic. If you're a bourbon barrel aged fan of stouts, if you can still find this on the shelf, you need to pick this up, because this is like, this is next level bourbon barrel aged stout, in my opinion. It's not something, you know, I don't think of it as something like KBS, because I feel like KBS is something different, but that would be something that I maybe would compare it to a little bit. I feel like KBS has more of that chocolatey kind of flavor and more of that maple. Well, it's maple, so it's, well, it's CBS. Forget that I said any of that stuff about KBS, but I just feel like they're different. You know, if you're a KBS fan and you've liked that in the past, this might be one that you'd want to pick up. But if you are a bourbon barrel aged stout fan at all, I feel like this is one you should pick up. I think that Oddside really outdid themselves on an 11th anniversary stout, and I think this one is a great pickup if you can still find it out there on shelves. All right, friends, that has been Oddside Ale's 11th anniversary stout. Have you had this stout? Have you had the Deleterious or any of its variants, and which one did you prefer? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, if you like beer, you might want to subscribe and click that bell, because I'm here talking about beer twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's all for free for viewers just like you, and you might miss your newest favorite if you're not subscribed and getting those notifications. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. Remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries, and most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for stopping by. See you next time. Cheers.